All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to present something on the topic of AI governance. But before we do that, uh, we held a small poll at the beginning, and everybody was kind enough. I think 35 odd respondents provided us with their views on the query in terms of what is your maturity level in adoption of AI. Now, let's not look at it as a technical benchmark, but as a measure of optimism. 40% think that there is some level of adoption, a moderate level of adoption, and 20% think it's significant. So I think everybody is looking at it in terms of what kind of momentum their organizations and within the organizations their departments are having. So it's an experiment, it's an experience, very insightful. But one thing is clear that everybody is adopting AI in one way or another. So these are numbers we got. Just going through it, 33% think it's minimal, 40% think it's moderate, 6.7% advanced, and 20% significant. So that's an insight we have from all our respondents. With that, I'll introduce my colleague Sachin, and we'll start with our session. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I audible? Cool. So, good evening, everyone. I think we are truly in the age of AI, right? And somebody said that AI is flavor of the season, right? So when you look at today's world, right? So we have a lot of AI techniques there. Today, we stand on a precipice of a profound technological evolution that is moving from generative AI to agentic AI. While generative AI, brought in disruption in terms of mastering human-like expression as well as content generation, agentic AI truly represents a quantum leap in in autonomy, right? And as some of these AI techniques become more and more autonomous, ensuring trustworthiness in these AI systems is becoming more and more challenging. And that's what you see in this graphic here, right? So you see with agentic AI, ensuring trustworthiness is becoming more and more challenging. Now, when we talk about the autonomy and trustworthiness, so what exactly is autonomy, right? So autonomy is the ability of the AI systems to act and take decisions without human intervention. And they operate on a spectrum, right? So you have human in the loop, human on the loop, and human out of the loop as well. And when you talk about trustworthiness is basically a measure of confidence of the AI system. So it's no longer about accuracy, but it's also about being lawful, ethical, and robust. And you see that there are multiple parameters of trustworthiness, starting from fairness to transparency, reliability, as well as accountability. So when we talk about AI governance, it is also about striking the right balance between autonomy and trustworthiness. So while we are talking about AI governance, and there's increasing focus on AI governance, but why is it now? So Sudhanshu, would you like to comment?
Thanks, Sachin. So, the question, why now? Because AI systems has existed for a very long time. What you define as an AI is something of a question which needs to be answered in the India context. Some geographies are already answering that. But we were already using logistic regression in some form or another. We were already using some kind of deep learning methods, neural networks. So why now? Why is it that we are having a conversation on AI dilemma now? The change is one, that there is definitely a lot more data being captured. People are becoming more aware. It's a natural evolution of the economy as well. We are following the money. The money is going towards more and more investment in harnessing this data. We are collecting petabytes of data. So you can read a number which is really high, and this is going to keep increasing with the number of data farms which are coming up. So one is the collection of data. What else? We could have collected data earlier as well. We have more compute than ever. Again, the kind of technological innovations, we are making better chips. There are GPUs coming into the picture. It is becoming more affordable. And of course, there is more money being funded into it. So that's another reason we have more compute, technological innovation. The same models which were earlier used only for scorecard development are now being used for understanding the intention of a customer, going into more behavioral modeling, because we can do that on a real-time basis with all the compute that is available now. And the other is, of course, the exponential growth in understanding some of these models or deploying scientifically some of these models. GPT is using close to trillion parameters. It has the compute, it can use trillion parameters. So that's again the kind of modeling, pure scientific data science innovation that has gone into it, along with the technology trends. So all of this combined together is definitely causing more and more investment into AI assistance. It's gone up 75% from 10% in the early 2020s. And we've just hit the tip of the iceberg, as you can see. The use cases are many. And we've seen in the poll as well, everybody's experimenting at a different level, experiencing it at a different level. And this is only going to keep on increasing, both hand in hand with the technology and the science. So, Sachin, would you like to maybe harms of this?
So AI is rooted in mathematics, and basically it's dealing with past data. So bad data, bad model will result in unintended consequences and harm. And you see some of the examples of harm and some very recent examples, right? AI-generated hallucinations in government advisory report in Australia and Canada, and so on. We are hearing about this regularly these days. But also, with the acceleration of adoption of AI, there's amplification of this harm, both from the extent as well as number perspective, right? So, which means that regulation is important, and regulation is coming. Globally, we see governments establishing principles of AI for ethical use of AI. So what is happening in India? And I'd like Sudhanshu to talk about that a little bit.
Thanks, Sachin. So just continuing with the same theme, the globe has adopted, so has India adapted and adopted AI regulations. There are almost across the board multitude of regulators and organizations which are somehow monitoring these from a telecom perspective, or be it from not just from the banking perspective. We have, of course, have from RBI the free AI blueprint, which is one of the major guidelines coming through. It was conducted with panelists who worked across different industries, had different experiences from data science to banking. METI has also come up with its own draft guidelines, which is again kind of referencing to the free AI blueprint. SEBI, IRDAI from insurance sector, everybody has come up with some form of AI blueprint or AI governance frameworks. This is interesting, and it's also leading up to the India AI Summit, which is in Feb 2026. These guidelines are somehow still shaping. There are different industry organizations which are working along with it. And there are other acts like DPDP, which is also contributing to it. So there is a complete framework which is coming into the picture now. And as we move forward, these regulatory actions will become more concrete. So let's focus on free AI blueprint, and why free AI blueprint is one. It comes from RBI. We have mostly bankers here today. The second reason is it gives a very definite framework in terms of how AI adoption can be taken forward. And one of the critical elements is RBI wants AI adoption to happen at a faster pace. It doesn't need to be a bottleneck. So adoption can be accelerated through these 7 sutras. It gives you a neat framework on how to adopt it. It's principle-based, so each principle has its own interpretation. Trust as foundation means we need to be reliable. Human needs to be in the loop. There needs to be responsible innovation. Again, innovation over restraint is one of the key themes even through the METI guidelines. Accountability, fairness, and equity, understandable by design. So explainability again becomes a key factor. And finally, safety and resilience. So there needs to be secure deployment of all of these models. So this is something which is enabling AI in India. How do we do it with SaaS is something which we would like to focus on. Now, there are various toolkits which have come out in Europe, in Singapore. They have come up with very definite guidelines as well. Toolkit is just a way of helping or pointing towards what's the right way to interpret these 7 sutras, these 7 principles. They might come across as vague, but when you look deeper into it and interpret it through a toolkit, it gives a clearer picture. And that's what we want to present through SaaS. You can This is how we have adopted these measures through our global experience, and we'll shed some light over it.
Thanks, Sudhanshu. So, just taking it down a little bit to a technical level, right? Now, each of these sutras means something. So, when we talk about trust, it is about trustworthiness and data, as well as data quality, and also the stakeholders who are involved. People first is about implementing human in loop controls. Again, Sudhanshu spoke about responsible innovation over cautious restraint. Fairness and equity is about mitigating bias. First of all, identifying bias and then mitigating bias. Accountability is about clear ownership of who is making the AI decisions and not giving it to a third party, right? Transparency or understandable by design is about explainable AI capabilities. That is, AI models cannot be a black box. And lastly, safety, resiliency, and sustainability. It's about continuous monitoring for model drift and performance. So when you look at this, all these technical pointers can be grouped into primarily three areas. That is, robust data governance, transparent or explainable AI, and lastly, a secure model ops process, which helps in continuous integration and continuous development. So we'll talk about SaaS capabilities that can address free AI sutras. But before we get into how or what are those SaaS capabilities, let me also show you how do we interpret the trustworthy AI landscape and how it is brought into our products as well as platforms, right? So what are we governing here? Basically, you see those three circles in the center, which is nothing but the AI lifecycle, which delivers from questions to decisions, right? And it involves majorly three areas. That is, manage data, develop information assets, and finally deploy those insights for consumption, right? Now, across these areas or across these three major tasks, we have identified 6 technology areas, primarily focusing on data management, explanation, detection, which is bias and fairness detection, and of course, other areas such as privacy and security, mitigation, and model ops, right? On top of that, we have activation principles or considerations that we make in these activation areas. So we have culture. Culture is about grounding all stakeholders in organization values and AI principles. Compliance. Compliance, again, is about ensuring that whatever products and tools are built and even AI assets that are built are complying to local laws and regulations. Operations, basically standard operating procedures as well as tools and platforms to allow development of ethical AI. And lastly, oversight, which is the birthplace of all this data governance and AI governance. This is where the principles of AI, ethical use of AI, are laid out and established, right? And all of this has to be orchestrated with the line that you see in the bottom, which is a trustworthy AI workflow. So let me get into, so this is obviously the AI lifecycle that I spoke about. And we'll now talk about what are those SaaS capabilities that can help in trustworthy AI across these three areas. So starting with managed data and robust data governance, some of the capabilities that we have are around data quality, which helps in profiling the data and checking for potential data quality issues. Similarly, we have automated data exploration, which helps in exploring data so that it is right for model building or before it is used for consumption. Information privacy and data masking is related to DPDP, that is protecting PII-related information. Data suppression, again, where you want that sensitive data about individuals are not exposed. Data lineage is about tracking the data that is used for consumption right to the source level. Synthetic data generation is about generating data synthetically when data when data is rare, right? So this ensures that synthetic data that is generated is statistically equivalent to the source data. So these are some of the capabilities that are available in data governance, and these are some screenshots that I'll just run through, which is about data quality. You can see that we have information catalog, which helps in profiling the data and provides various descriptive statistics of data. There's information privacy, which helps in classifying what an attribute is, whether it is private, sensitive, or candidate. Data masking helps in anonymizing and automatically masking sensitive and PII data. Data lineage, again, this is what we talked about for tracking the data from the source to the information asset, whether it's a model or a report. And again, synthetic data generation, generating synthetic data from sample source data and making sure it is statistically equivalent. And that's it. So that was about data governance. Let me pass on the baton to Sudhanshu to take it on from here.
Thank you, Sachin. I'll talk about the middle layer very quickly on models. And I have experienced this because I was a banker with one of the global banks not so long ago. And what I would say the historical or the legacy interpretation of all of these would be on interpretability, fairness and bias, language, insights, and bias mitigation. If I was developing a credit risk model using logistic regression, I would probably end up, having multiple kind of backtesting measures. I would look at my goodness of fit. I would look at my ROC curves. I would also look at maybe out of time, out of sample. There are conventional forms of testing your models. But this is when you understand the model in and out. This is a white box model. But no longer are we working only with white box models. We are also working with black box models. We just went through that. GPT is using 1 trillion parameters. Maybe in a small language model, I'm using only 1 million parameters. But how do you go about, assessing these models? And that's where the challenge is with the adoption of AI and more advanced models. So how do we look at interpretability of models? How do you interpret AI models? What are the best ways? On an outcome-based and not just deterministic models. In the sense, the model which use your tabular data, you have statistical measures coming out. That's okay, but in most cases, you're also using chatbots, which are some form of models now. And how do you use non-deterministic form of model evaluation? So that's a key. We look into model interpretability a lot more closer now to understand the why and how of your models. And that goes a long way if you have some statistical techniques inbuilt into your model development and validation techniques. For example, your line plots, your Shapley values, these are techniques which have come up recently. They need to be, closely ingrained in your development as well as validation exercises. So I can continue to look at the traditional measures, look at my data closely, look at some of these legacy forms of model model validation, but also there are something new which has come up, which needs to be adopted again as part of your AI enablement toolkit. Fairness and bias, again, I want to make sure that none of my segments overly predicts or under predicts to an extreme end. This we used to do again. We were doing this a lot on our legacy models, but with, again, the increase of number of parameters, I need to have this automated and a lot more robust. Model monitoring and model cards is, again, something which is part of your ongoing monitoring, and all of these statistical tools will align with that accordingly. So if you look at model governance, you'll have to inventorize all of these models because the speed of your model building also goes up. Earlier, you might have been building 3-4 models. I can build a lot more models because, again, the compute is a lot more. I can quickly calibrate a model and the model may be ready in 2, 3, 4 days. The cycle is reduced. So model inventorization becomes a key. That's the starting point for your model governance. Model monitoring, all of that needs to be, again, plugged into the same way that you inventorize the model, you have some basic tests and measures out. That's why toolkits are provided, because it's a systematic approach on how do you go about monitoring these models. We have discussed this. And model cards, I've on purpose placed something called a stent failure risk here, because a model card is like your health report card. You should have this dashboard built in for all the models you have inventorized. You need to have a clear check on the health of all of your models, whether they are in production as champion models or whether they are challenge models, because you're making decisions based on these models. And finally, how do we tie this all together? There will always be regulation. We can adopt modern scientific measures. But traceability, auditability will always remain a question mark. There has to be a maker checker inside your organization. We have been doing this as part of governance and compliance management. This again needs to be embraced as part of your model governance as well. Hence, a trustworthy AI workflow. A lot of organizations have come up with very neat frameworks on how to govern your workflows. One of them is something from the National Institute of Standards in US. We have worked very closely with them. They were one of the initial members who came out with toolkit. There was also Veritas toolkit from Singapore, which we very closely work with. We've embraced all of these toolkits. We've also toolkits being pointed to in the RBI free AI committee report. So that is clearly the way to go. There is not one toolkit out there which you need to adopt, but definitely you need to have a systematic approach towards model governance. Next is on orchestration. Again, orchestration is how do you bring all of these elements together? I have my data, I have my models, I have my model validations, I have my model ongoing performance monitoring reports, but how do you gel all of that together? I'll let Sachin, throw some light on this back.
Okay. Yeah, so this is an important sutra, and we spoke about it earlier. What we also want to bring out is we have a decisioning platform which helps in bringing various AI techniques together, right from traditional AI to LLMs, as well as creating agentic AI workflows. So this is one such example where you see, various AI techniques have been used in a decision workflow. And another example wherein which shows usage of LLM model and also the ability to add human in the loop, right? This is what we call as composite AI. And we believe that composite AI, that is merging various AI techniques together as well as bringing the human in loop, can help in striking the right balance between autonomy and trustworthiness. Finally, I'd like to end with a summary of what our platform is. So SASY is our flagship platform for model risk management. And basically, it is built on principles to enhance productivity, improve performance, and it provides all those governance capabilities to enable trust in developing AI assets. And these are some of the attributes of the SASY platform that you see. So we'd like to end it here. Hope we are on time. It was spacey, but hopefully we were able to deliver the message across. Thank you very much for being patient. Thanks.